I hit the rocks hard and the world went white. Salt and iron filled my mouth, a ribbon of blood on my chin. Above us the wind tore along Timberline Bluff and the pines hissed. "Do not move, Grace," Michael whispered. "Play dead. Breathe small, make them believe it." Boots scraped stone. I could not lift my head, but I knew those steps. Our daughter Lily. Her husband Evan. Their voices rose and fell. "Over here. I think I can see them," Lily called, a tremor in her kindness. "Stay back," Evan said. "We need to call this in." This was never an accident. Not the hike, not the detour to a narrow overlook, not the way Evan urged one more step back for the perfect shot. I tasted fear and grit and 20 years of questions. Michael's hand found mine, a squeeze that said hold. "Wait, listen." Above us Lily shaped her voice for the crowd she imagined. "Please, someone, help. My parents fell." I kept still and counted heartbeats, one truth each thud. Our family had cracked open. I am Grace Whitaker, 58, a high school literature teacher in the coastal town of Seabrook, Oregon. My husband Michael is 60 and shapes cedar and maple into tables that outlive their owners. Our mornings used to start before sunrise, kettle humming, windows fogged with steam, gulls riding the wind over the harbor. We built a life on small rituals, hands stained with ink and sawdust, dinners around a table he carved with a leaf motif that caught crumbs like tiny harbors. We raised 2 children at that table. Connor, our firstborn, filled rooms just by walking in. Lily, 5 years younger, watched everything and said little, a moon to his sun. She studied Michael's joinery like scripture, tracing dovetails with a fingertip. On Sundays we walked the beach and planned a retirement that felt close enough to touch. I remember the night the world tilted. Connor did not come home from a study session that should have ended by 10. Rain hammered the roof, and the clock crawled past midnight. I called his friends, then the hospital, then anyone who might have seen his blue pickup on Harbor Road. Michael pulled on his boots and said he would check the bluffs. I waited with the porch light burning like a beacon that could not reach him. When the knock finally came, it was not Connor. 2 deputies stood in wet jackets and held their hats like bad news. They found him below a ravine near the old coast trail, one boot scuffed, phone cracked, water pooling around the screen. The report used words like accidental and likely slip. We swallowed those words because there was nothing else to hold. After the funeral, the house quieted, but the silence did not comfort. It pressed on the ribs and stayed. I wore the same black dress I wore to my mother's burial, though the fabric felt heavier now. Michael held my elbow when my knees gave out, and I gripped the rail of the pew as if it could anchor me to a world that made sense. People spoke in hushed tones about Connor's smile, his plans, his kindness. I heard the words, but they came through water. Lily sat still beside me, not cold, not cruel, just contained, as if her grief had chosen a locked room. After the service, neighbors brought casseroles and promises. The front door kept opening and closing like a tide. By night, the house learned its new map: 3 plates instead of 4, 1 bedroom forever neat. The chair Connor favored scraped the floor when I passed, a new wound. We returned to work because the calendar insisted, but time did not. It stalled. Grief rounded off its edges and life pretended to be itself again. Years moved in their slow circle. Lily married Evan Parker, a soft-voiced man from a nearby town who called me Ms. Whitaker until I insisted on Grace. They had 2 children, bright-eyed and quick to giggle, and the sound of little feet returned to a hallway that had forgotten how to redeco. Lily opened a small studio, Whitaker and Company, with a clean window on Main Street and a sign Michael helped her hang. She worked in oak and ash, posting photos of crisp joints and milk paint finishes that made strangers pause. She said she wanted to walk in her father's footsteps, to carry the craft forward. I let that sentence warm me. Dinner stretched long again. Evan washed, Michael dried, and I packed leftovers the way I used to when Connor came home late. I chose to believe this was a mended life, a quilt stitched tight enough to hold. When doubt flickered, I tucked it under a napkin and poured more tea. It started with paperwork, the kind that arrives in quiet envelopes and asks for signatures. Our house by the water had doubled in value, the small plot inland had crept up, and our savings sat in accounts that felt sleepy until someone counted them. I suggested we update our will, the sensible task couples keep postponing. Lily brightened. "Let us help," she said. Evan nodded, practical as ever. "One heir simplifies things," he added, "less confusion for the kids." We met with Arthur Bennett, a steady attorney with a tidy desk. He reviewed options, a basic will, a trust for the grandchildren, or designating a manager to handle assets if something happened. Lily pressed gently for control. Name me as primary, she said. I will make sure everything is fair. Evan squeezed my hand as if to bless the idea. Michael, always trusting, signed first. I watched the ink spread and felt a draft in a window that was closed. I wish I could say the pressure was obvious. It came wrapped in kindness, the way ivy looks pretty while it strangles a fence. Lily and Evan started dropping by with lists, safer flooring, better lighting, a contractor who could redo the stairs before one of us fell, practical, compassionate, relentless. They brought articles about downsizing. They asked for account summaries so they could plan our care. Evan suggested consolidating policies, moving cash, adding automatic transfers. Lily floated power of attorney as a precaution. If anything happens, we can step in, she said. It sounded like love spoken in spreadsheets. I stalled. I said we needed time. They smiled and said of course, then returned 2 days later with new suggestions. Michael believed in their better angels. I wanted to believe too, but the requests kept shaping the same silhouette, us smaller, them larger, all lines pointing to a single conclusion. They did not want to help. They wanted control. I asked the question that changed the room. Why do you need access at all? You have your own business. You have your own accounts. Why ours? Lily did not flinch, but something cooled in her eyes. Mom, this is about making things easier, she said. Emergencies do not schedule themselves. Evan folded his hands and added that modern families centralize decisions to avoid confusion. He made it sound like a TED talk given at our kitchen table. I poured tea to buy a breath. Then I said it again, steady this time. No, not now. Not to power of attorney, not to consolidating anything. We are not ready. The silence that followed had weight. Evan smiled a thin smile and checked his watch. Of course, he said. We want whatever makes you comfortable. Lily cleared the mugs and set them down harder than she meant to. That night, Michael and I lay in the dark with the lamp off. Do you think I am being unfair? I asked. He took a long time to answer. I think you are being careful, he said. And I think I have not wanted to look where you are looking. 2 nights later, Michael sat at the edge of the bed and rubbed the bridge of his nose the way he does when a truth is heavier than his hands. There is something I never told you, he said. It lives with me every day. On the night Connor died, I followed Lily. She was not studying. She left the house at 8, fast, like she had decided something. I trailed her to the Old Coast Trail. Connor was already there. They were arguing about money, about what comes to who when we are gone. He had papers in his hand, bank statements. He shouted that she had been skimming from our savings, small at first, then not small. Michael's voice thinned. I heard him say he would tell us in the morning if she did not make it right. Then everything broke open at once. A shove. A slip. He went over. I told myself it was an accident because I needed that story to breathe. He looked at me. I have been carrying that lie for 20 years. Michael had not just remembered, he had investigated. Over the past month he pulled credit reports, searched public lions, and called 2 lumber suppliers who knew him. The picture was bad. Lily's studio was underwater, invoices aging past 90 days, a short-term loan at a shark rate, and a second one with penalties that doubled after 60. Evan had signed as guarantor. Numbers do not panic, but people do. Their questions at our table were not curiosity, they were triage. He asked what I already feared. If someone believes your death solves their problem, what do they start to notice? Stair treads, night lights, expired smoke alarms, insurance clauses that pay. I could feel the air change around each object I had trusted. We sat with the ugly math, our lives their ledger. I said the word out loud, motive. Michael nodded. We would not run. We would collect evidence, tell one person, and build a path to daylight. We did not have to wait long. Lily called the next morning, sounding bright. Anniversary hike this weekend, she said. Timberline Bluff is easy, the overlook breathtaking. Evan chimed in near the phone. We will bring everything. Snacks, water, first aid. I can get great photos for the album. Michael put the call on speaker so we both heard the script. I asked about the route, the weather, cell service. Lily answered as if rehearsed. Short trail, clear skies, bars most of the way, back before dinner tonight. After we hung up, we named it without flinching, an invitation to the edge. Running would not fix the past or protect the future. We would go, but on our terms. Michael set his phone to record on wake and voice. I wrote the date and our plan in my journal, then tore the page out and mailed it to my sister. We treated the week like a fire drill. Michael charged battery packs, cleared storage on his phone, and set a shortcut to start recording with one tap. He taped the microphone port to keep out grit, and tucked the phone in an inner pocket where a fall might spare it. I copied our insurance details and policy numbers on paper and left them in a sealed envelope on the kitchen counter. We told one person. I called my sister Joanne and asked her to check her mailbox for something important. I did not say more on a line I could not trust. Then I drove to the post office and mailed the letter. At home I staged the simple protections people skip: spare keys with a neighbor, a list of contacts on the fridge, copies of IDs in the freezer under foil. If fear knocked, I made it work. Document everything. Keep off-site copies. Tell one trusted soul today. Saturday rose clean and blue, the kind of sky that would make a postcard lie. Evan pulled into our drive right on time, music low, smile wide. He loaded packs with theatrical care: water, snacks, first aid, headlamps for fun. Lily wore new boots and a windbreaker with crisp creases, a bright color meant to read as safety. The trail began tame, a soft path through fir and sallow, a creek braided under planks, and the air smelled like rain that had not fallen yet. Evan set an easy pace, watching us without looking like he was watching. Lily drifted behind, checking gear and calling out friendly reminders. Watch your footing, take your time, we have all day. A mile in, the grade pitched steeper, the chatter thinned. Evan said the overlook was just 10 minutes ahead, though the map at the kiosk had promised 30 more. When I pointed it out, he laughed and blamed his sense of time. Small lies make good mortar. The spur appeared narrow, pretty, and wrong. I stepped onto the spur and felt the ground change looser gravel, seams where rain had polished the rock. The view opened like a trick door. Ocean distant, a valley cupped in dark trees, the drop a clean knife. Evan raised the camera and framed us with casual precision. Just a little farther back, he said, or the ridge will block the sky. Lily drifted to our rear, her shadow falling over my shoulder. Michael's fingers brushed mine, one squeeze, our code, hold, then pivot. We edged a step. Wind tugged. Evan smiled too easily. That is perfect. Wrap your arms and look left. Now a quick laugh, beautiful. Lily lunged. Palms on our backs, heel grinding forward. I felt the ugly intent. Michael twisted, grabbed her wrist and pulled. If we go together, he said through his teeth. Evan rushed in, camera clattering. For an absurd instant we balanced like a table missing a leg. The cliff breathed cold air from the ravine, hungry and patient. Then the world tipped. I woke in pieces but forced my body to stay still. Pain roared in waves, then narrowed to a point behind my ribs. Grit worked into my cheek. Michael lay near me, eyes half closed, his mouth barely moving. Do not move, he whispered. Breathe shallow. Let them think it is over. Above us, stones clicked. Lily groaned, a broken sound, then cursed. Evan answered in a hiss. Say it was the slab that shifted. Say your father slipped and grabbed your mother. I counted 10 slow breaths and let one eyelid slit. Their shapes crawled across the slope, testing limbs, checking the pack. Evan found the camera and tested it, then tucked it away. They spoke of angles, where the guardrail started, how long the hike back would take. Not a word about calling for us by name. Michael found my fingers. Hold, he breathed. Record is on now. Voices rose above like ropes thrown down. A hiker's shout carried, then the clipped rhythm of trained steps. Metal chimed. Lines unfurled. Someone called for silence and head counts. Michael closed his eyes and slowed his chest to a whisper. Team 1 to the left, 2 to the right. The medic voice was steady, all muscle memory. He knelt beside Michael first. Pulse weak but present, he said, tone clinical. He leaned over me next. Possible respiratory effort, spine precautions, package and lift. I kept my eyes half-lidded, breath so thin it barely fogged. Lily cried for show near the top, her voice tremoring at the right beats. Evan answered each question promptly, a model witness to the wrong story. Harness snug, straps crossed, the litter creaked. My world rose in small jerks toward sky. Above, the rail flashed, then faces, then the indifferent blue of a day that should have been ordinary. Emergency lights washed the corridor in red and white, doors parted, hands moved. Questions stacked above my head and someone answered for me. Female, late 50s. Fall from height. Vitals unstable but holding. I stayed under until the room settled. A nurse with calm eyes checked lines and leads. She leaned close to adjust the oxygen and her voice dropped, meant only for me. If you can hear me, squeeze my finger once. I moved a fraction. Her pupils tightened. She paused, then turned her head as the door opened. Lily stepped in with Evan. Their steps softened. Mom, Lily whispered, as if a microphone waited in the ceiling. I am so sorry. Some truths should stay buried. Like Connor's. The nurse went still. I held the stillness with her. When they left, she exhaled and pressed the call button. A detective arrived with quiet shoes and a legal pad. We can keep you safe, he said. Tell me what happened on that cliff. Michael was 2 rooms down with a chest binder and a jaw that did not quite close. When Detective Hill reached him, Michael lifted his phone like an oath. Audio rolled from the moment Lily pointed to the spur. The words no one should ever say about their parents spilled out in clean waveforms. Hill called a judge and spoke in the syntax of warrants. Officers took positions in the lobby where grief had arranged itself into polite chairs. Lily and Evan sat close, hands clasped, faces arranged for sympathy. A mic at the desk caught the edges of their huddle. What did you say back there? You pushed the timing, Evan hissed. You chose the bluff, Lily snapped. The recorder on her keyring told its own story when they searched her bag. Conversations at our table. Probing for policies and payout clauses. A draft list titled after. The cuffs clicked like period marks. Evan flinched. Lily went white. That is impossible, he said, and the sentence became evidence too. The charges arrived in a stack the size of a casebook. 1 count for the death that ended our son. 2 for what nearly ended us. Fraud. Forgery. Theft that had worn the mask of kindness. Their attorneys floated a plea built from pressure and panic, as if desperation were a map that excused the road. We testified. Nurse Dana described the whisper about burying the past. Detective Hill walked the jury through the audio, clean as daylight, no room left for accidents. The jury listened, faces blank and careful, and then came back with the answer printed on their features before the foreman spoke. Guilty. The word did not bring joy. Only air. Sentences were long enough to matter. The children went first to a temporary home, then to ours, small shoes by the door next to boots that had seen too much. We read books at a new table and learned bedtime again. Healing is not loud. It is chairs scraping and dishes drying and showing up tomorrow. A year later we live closer to the water in a house that holds exactly what we need. Michael rebuilt the leaf motif into a simpler table, wide enough for homework and pancakes and small hands learning to sand. At night we tell stories about Uncle Connor that keep only the bright pieces. The boy who fixed squeaky hinges without being asked. The teenager who drew house plans on napkins and taped them to his wall. Some mornings I wake with the fall in my bones and sit until the sea steadies me. I have learned that love without boundaries is not love at all. That silence feeds the very shadows it fears. That truth takes the shape of small brave acts done again and again. If you stayed with me to the end, thank you. Tap like so others can find the courage in this. Tell me where you are watching from and what moment you would have handled differently. Share this with the one friend still second-guessing her gut. We are building a house where truth stands, even on the edge of a cliff.